guys, it's Jessica Nicole Dickerson aka JND and welcome back to another video. Woo! Don't mind my hair, it's crazy. Don't mind my acne, it's crazy. It's been a good time, guys. It's March 8th. February has been gone, so this is a little late, so I apologize, but I am working on a production on campus and it's been kind of crazy. Now it's spring break, so for this week I can breathe, but of course I have a break now, so it's like I don't want to do anything and I'm unmotivated. So today's video is going to be my February wrap-up, guys. I actually ended up reading 17 books in the March of February. In the month of February, which is so exciting. That is the most I've ever read. So guys, I'm becoming a real booktuber. I'm reading lots of content. And then of course, it's March now, March 8th, and I've read 0 books. In February, it was the Booktubeathon games and Blackathon, so I had a lot of motivation to actually be reading constantly. I guess I should like get into the books I read now instead of rambling. And stay tuned, make sure you watch the video because there's a little secret giveaway that I'm gonna be hosting, so I guess you guys should watch and find out. Oh. Okay, I'm done being sneaky. Let's get into the books that I read. The first book I finished on February 1st, I read half of it, but I did finish it in February, was A Study in Charlotte by Brittany Cavallaro. That name's really hard for me to say. I'm so sorry if I like, just excuse my bad English, because so this is a like Sherlock Holmes retelling, reimagining. So it's generations after Sherlock Holmes. His great-great-granddaughter Charlotte Holmes and Jamie Watson go to a boarding school together. There's murders and they solve them, and there's a little bit of romance. So yeah, it was okay. I give it a 3 out of 5 because it was just kind of like, I wasn't very invested in these characters. It started off very peculiar. These people were very interesting and had interesting motives. But I feel like it kind of dropped the ball on my excitement of wanting to know more about these characters. For me personally, I know a lot of people really love this. But yeah, it was okay. It was a good mystery murder. If you like mystery murder, contemporary stuff with a little bit of romance, you'll love this. It wasn't my cup of tea. I don't know how to explain it. The next book I read was probably going to be a favorite of the year, Pride by Ibi Zoboi. I gave this one 5 stars. So it is a modern retelling of Pride and Prejudice. So it's putting Pride and Prejudice into Brooklyn, and there is Zuri Benitez, who is a woman who lives with like 5 other sisters in a 1-bedroom or 3-bedroom apartment. They like all share a room together, and their parents are constantly working, and her older sister's like off to college, and they're very career-driven women trying to get a better lifestyle for themselves. And then there are the Darcys that come in next door, or yeah, Darius Darcy moves in next door, and their world is kind of turned upside down. But I love this book in particular, and I think it's really important to note that these women, Zuri and her sisters, are very career-driven women. They are not about the romance. They don't want a romance. They want their own careers and passions. And of course, Zuri Benitez loves spoken word and poetry, so this is an amazing audiobook. I highly recommend. But I thoroughly enjoyed this and highly recommend it. Okay, the next book that I read was a audiobook. It was Girls of Paper and Fire. I forgot the author's name at the moment, but I'll put like a little cute picture here. So I really did love this book. It was like a 4 out of 5 for me. I thought it was a little bit slow for my liking. Like I kept like wanting to pick up other things just because the story was like a kind of like a slow burn romance, because there is a lovely female romance in here. It's really cute, but it's like one of those ones where you have to wait for them to finally, you know, hold hands, and like it's cute. I love, but it's a little slow. And the world itself, I feel like it was also slow because it was doing a lot of world building because it's a different world. So this is a world where there's other casts. There's like the steel cast and like the paper cast. The paper is like human. I forget the other 2, but there's like a half demon, half human class, and then there's a full demon class, and they run this kind of country, and they're not nice rulers in any way, shape, or form. And then there's these paper girls, so the king will pick like 8 girls to be his paper girls, basically sex slaves. And he chooses them, but there's a 9th one, and this girl's real cute, and she's got golden eyes like the cover. But yeah, and basically trouble ensues. It's really an emotional hit, and this book also has a great conversation around female-female relationships and what people's assumptions are about these relationships. And it's just it's a great subject, and I can't wait. I heard the sequel's coming out sometime this year, I think. It's good. Just don't expect it to be super fast-paced. It is very plot-driven, but the plot really starts to happen in the second half, whereas the first half is a lot of world building, which I appreciate because it made me care for the characters so much. Okay, and then if you made it to this part of the video, guess what? You can enter the giveaway. Yay! Okay, so the next book, or comic book that I read was Motor Crush. This book I got on Amazon for $5. I was so excited. I was like, yes, oh my god. But it was also on my birthday wish list. And as the brilliant daughter that I am, I did not tell nobody that I purchased it, and please don't buy it for me. So this happened. Yeah. And if you think this is a lot, no. This is the one I purchased. And these are the two that my sister and parents sent me. But they were really cheap online, so they were like, just keep it, it's fine. So I'm giving them away. So yeah, if you want to enter the giveaway, I think I'm going to give one away on Twitter and one through my channel. So yes, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Comment down below that you want Motor Crush. Why do you want this, basically? Why do you want the book? Tell me that you want it and why. There you go. Yes, and I will be doing the same thing on Twitter. I'll probably have you guys follow me on Twitter and retweet a picture. And then yeah, this giveaway is going to be open for 2 weeks. I will have the deadline down below and pick winners when it's over and announce it and everything. But yeah, if you want to win, comment down below, subscribe. And I think also follow me on Twitter and YouTube so that way you can have double chances of winning. Right? Yes. But I won't pick the same winner twice, for sure. Enter the win, guys! Okay, but actually plot-wise and everything, so this is a 4 out of 5 for me. It was pretty entertaining. I really liked the kind of mystery aspect. I definitely want to get volume 2 because now I am intrigued. But I feel like I liked it. But I just kind of want more. Like, I feel like the cliffhanger was very dramatic and I want more answers. I feel like when it comes to comic books, it's really hard to see the full story because it's like illustrations, so you can't tell as much with the story, but you can see more. So I feel like there could have been more with the plot, like giving us a few more hints, but the mystery is really cool. So basically it's about this girl who was adopted by her dad, and she has to ingest this really disgusting drug, this drug called Crush. And normally when normal people ingest this stuff, they like die, like horrible deaths and their eyes bleed out and it's like, ugh, it's gross. But she needs it to live. She like has an inhaler and she like uses it, and she illegally races to try and get more of this drug. And she's also a actual race, not race car driver, but like a motorcycle racer. That's probably a thing. I don't know it. Yeah, and the illustration was great, and there is a beautiful female romance here. I need to I want to read more of the volumes because I feel like I need to get more of the story. Beautiful. It's beautiful. So the next book that I read was Odd One Out by Nic Stone. So I'm kind of still on the fence about this book. I clearly love Dear Martin by Nic Stone. I talk about it all the time in my videos if you've seen. And I just think it had such a powerful message, and it did it in a comedic, fun way. This one is definitely way more on the comedic, fun side. The narrative is very childlike, very humorous, but it also has a great discussion about identification, your sexuality, it being fluid or non-fluid, or feeling the pressure to identify a certain way when you don't want to. But for some people, identifying themselves as bi or as a lesbian or as gay helps them like identify themselves, whereas others it's like, no, I'm just like and accepting that both are okay. So basically there's a fabulous love triangle in this story. So in this book we have Courtney, also referred to as Coop, who kind of loves his neighbor best friend. He's known her forever, Jupe, but Jupiter is a lesbian, so he's struggling with this romance because it's like, shit, like she's never gonna like me, damn. And then this new girl Ray comes in, kind of shakes things up because I think Jupiter likes her, and then Coop likes her kind of, but there's this triangle happening and the friends have to face the facts of like, oh, who do I like, who do I not like. And then there's a lovely author's note at the end of this by Nic Stone talking about how she never was able to identify her sexuality in one period of time, that it's constantly flowing and ebbing and changing. So yeah, I think it's a great discussion. I just find that the There was so much humor in this that it was really hard to take the characters very seriously, in my opinion. But I get that they're high schoolers. I just wish there was an edge more seriousness to it. And not serious like brooding serious, but like serious as in like, because these are these people's feelings, and sexuality is such an important discussion. So it's just very comedic. I liked it. So I think I'm gonna give this like a 3.7. The next play that I read, kind of a book, it's more of a play, was The American Play by Susan Laurie Parks. This play is real confusing. If I'm being honest. I think it's something you definitely have to watch. I read it for class, and my little brain is just like, ah. It has a lot of deep-rooted meaning to it. There's a lot of, like, basically it's about this foundling father who kind of looks like Abraham Lincoln, you see. And he basically makes like a amusement park where he reenacts the assassination of Lincoln. And then later on in the play, his wife Lucy in Brazil, his son, try and uncover his life because he, you know, passed and stuff. And it's just, whoa, it's confusing, but like it's a great discussion to have, because yeah, there's so many other like aspects that you could miss but other people pick up. So it's one of those interesting conversational pieces. Yeah, I had to design a set for this, and I'm kind of scared but kind of excited. But yeah, I'd say it's about a 3.5 just because it's so complex, but there's so many like layers that you get to uncover. It's just real hard to explain. But yeah, and I'm interested to read more from Susan Laurie Parks now. The next book that I read, which was super large, super heavy, and oh my god, was Becoming by Michelle Obama, which was such a good read. Oh my god. So if you love this woman like I do, you will love this book like I do. It's a 5 out of 5. It is, don't get me wrong, it's a little slow. This is a very anecdotal book where it's just like kind of chunks of her life and explaining how she becomes Michelle Obama, how she becomes a lawyer, how she and Obama become a couple, and how she becomes the first lady, and now what she's becoming next. It's very interesting. I really liked the first part of the book where she talks about her childhood life, because I think it's really interesting how, you know, you wouldn't assume that the first lady ever grew up in like a lower income Chicago area, and that presidents and first ladies do come from normal backgrounds, that they come from a normal life and they just have passions to help people and things like that. So I think it was so good. And then the second half is more of all the presidential stuff and how that kind of flipped their lives upside down. It's 5 out of 5. I recommend. If you like this woman, read it. Support her. The next book that I read was A Very Large Expansive Sea by Tahereh Mafi, which I love, but I do think I am going to give this a 4 out of 5. It's not a 5 out of 5 just because it is a romance. It is one of those kind of romancy books where there's a heavy romance plot, which it's contemporary. I should have expected this, but it has such great commentary on women who wear hijabs and being a Muslim American teen after 9/11. So it's kind of heart-wrenching, but it also gets you to open up. The main character loves breakdancing and has so many passions, but deals with so much emotionally and is frustrated and angry. And I kind of like that this character isn't this perky, perfect, nerdy, quiet girl. No, she's aggressive, she's loud, and she's very straightforward. And I love that because not everybody is this perfectly cookie-cut teenage high school, oh my god, I want to date the football player. It's like, nah, I'm this loud, expressive girl and people are mean to me, so I'm angry. So it really talks about her anger and how when she starts to develop more friends and they're like, hey, you're kind of angry, and it's a discussion about that. I just wish like things weren't solved with just romance, but I guess that's the next step in evolution for Muslim American books, is to be less about the romance and how the boy comes in and accepts my hijabi life, but more about how these women and how they live and how, like, I don't know how to explain it. I loved it. 4.5 out of 5 stars, but just, you know, maybe next time a little less romance, but it's a good entry point, I think. So I'm very excited. Okay, and the next few things that I read were mangas. So if you don't like manga, you might not like this part. House of the Sun, if you can see it. If not, I'll put a picture too. I really enjoyed them, but I am like trash for manga. I really love manga. This one is about an older boy and a high school girl who are kind of living together because the families are kind of shit. The boy's mom and dad passed and his siblings have moved off and left this house, but he's trying to stay put and keep the house together. And he was friends, childhood friends with this younger girl who's in high school right now, and her parents are really shitty. They got divorced, but they're not investing much time in her, so she's now living with him. So it is kind of an age gap problem, but they're still pretty close in age. But like, you know how anime and manga are, they're like, what are these tropes? Let's just go full force. I mean, they haven't kissed or done anything inappropriate. I read 3 volumes. They're all probably like 4 out of 5 stars. I tend to rate manga pretty easily because I'm just in it for the romance and enjoying the romance. So I enjoyed it. It's cute. The illustration style is so freaking cute. It's a good time. I like manga for a good time. I don't like think they're all like really ethical or morally correct, but they're fun, and the illustration style is fun. So I definitely 4 out of 5. So it's been about 45 minutes. I try to let my battery charge, so if the lighting is different, I apologize. Hopefully it's still good. The sun's still kind of out. It's like 4 now. Thanks, battery. I should have been more prepared. So the next book I read after that, which actually was a pretty incredible read. I'm surprised not a lot of people are talking about this. So this book was, oh, you can't really see, there's a glare. Beasts Made of Night. And I will leave all the author and book titles down below because I don't want to butcher them. I don't want to be that person, but I am normally that person. But yeah, this was a 5 out of 5. It was so engaging. I highly recommend the audiobook because he had a African accent. I don't know if it was like East or West African, but it was definitely, there was a little bit of an accent to it, which I totally loved. So this story is about a world where there is a class system, and of course the top people are in power and have all the money and they're mean and evil. And then on the bottom of this cast is the Akai. So if in this world, there are people, when they commit sins, it becomes a tattoo. So the upper class has to cleanse themselves of sin because clearly they're the upper class. It's like they want to go to heaven, all that stuff. So the Akai are people who eat the sins and will take on other people's sins. So yeah, and then our main character, Taj, so he is an Akai, and he starts working for the palace to eat sins and things like that, but he's special because his sin spots don't go away. Most of the Akai, when they eat a sin spot, the sin will fade after time, but his sin spots don't fade, and there's kind of a plot to overthrow the system. Really cool, really nifty. If you like Children of Blood and Bone, if you like any fantasy book that has a really cool system, you will love this book. It is such an interesting tale, and I love how there's so much action, and the romance isn't the forefront of the story, which I really appreciate. So I kind of prefer this over Children of Blood and Bone just a smidge. Children of Blood and Bone was cool, but the romance was such the forefront of the story, whereas this one, the magic system and the class system was definitely the forefront of this story. The next 2 things that I read, ooh, I almost spilled my water, were plays that I got that I read, and I'm taking a theater in the African diaspora class with a really cool teacher. So I have this book that has tons of African playwrights in it, modern African drama, a Norton critical edition. Yeah, does that help you? I don't know. So a lot of these plays I've really enjoyed. So the first one I read that was a 5 out of 5 was A Dilemma of a Ghost. Ata Aidoo is the author of Dilemma of a Ghost. It was so good. Basically it talks about, you figure out what a dilemma of a ghost is while reading the play, but it's just about basically someone who wants both sides. So this is an African like college age person who goes to the United States for education, comes back with a wife. But she's African American, and he brings her into his culture, and there's a clash between the two of what his parents expect, what his girlfriend expects, what he wants, because clearly he wants both sides, and then there's the dilemma. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I think it has great commentary on the ugly American and communication between 2 cultures, and it has great commentary. But of course it's a play, so it would probably be way better performed, but definitely 5 out of 5. The writing was very engaging, and the plot was very, for me in my time being an African American, I was looking at this and I'm like, this is so what I need right now, because you know we read a lot of Western plays, so it's very interesting to read something different. So that was the first play I read for that class. The second play I read was Intelligence Powder, which was an absurdist play. So if you're not a big theater person, absurdism is kind of like pointing fun at how people live and how absurdities of our social constructs are. It kind of pokes fun at that. So Intelligence Powder, there's this guy who's basically poking fun at the system, and he'll sell sand as intelligence powder, or he'll like keep tricking the king into doing these crazy things, and it's kind of poking fun at the political problems that, you know, the United States can relate to as well. But how absurd this king is, and just it has great commentary, but it is an absurdist play, so a lot of it doesn't make sense. So I give it a 3 out of 5. It was okay. It's probably way better to be like seeing it visually, but it has great promise in performance. So I hope to one day see it, but probably it won't happen in the United States, because you know how we are. We love our Western worlds and our norms. So oh, the next book that I read was My Sister the Serial Killer. I listened to it on Scribd. Surprisingly very short book, and I actually really like this thriller, because earlier on I was talking about A Study in Charlotte and how it's a mystery thriller thing, and I was like, okay, My Sister the Serial Killer is way better, in my opinion. It was a 4 out of 5. I found the story to be a little bit too short, in my opinion. I feel like we could have gone a little bit deeper, but it also makes you feel a lot, because it talks a lot about sister relations and the expectations of being the eldest sister. So it was very interesting to see the viewpoint of the older sister, and of course having a sister being a serial killer. Very interesting, and it was so well written. I highly recommend. Again, the audiobook was so great. There was like an African accent to it, I believe, if I remember correctly. It was on Scribd, and it's only like 3.5 hours or so I highly recommend. Go support the author. It was really well done, in my opinion. I want more. I'm a needy hoe. I want 300 plus pages. The last 2 things I read were comic books, because I was trying to get my page count up for the Booktube games. Yes. So the very first one I read was the Runaways, Volume 1, and it's Runaways Find Your Way Home. So I love the illustration style. It was so fun, and the story was fun. I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5. Comics and, again, manga are kind of hard to rate, because you never get to see the full story, and I haven't read any of the other Runaway comics, but clearly there was a plot that happened previous in a different comic that I missed, and started me kind of towards the end of that. Like, it was picking up. Like, I think this is a good book for a new generation of people who haven't read any comic books from Runaways, but it was a little jarring, but they explain it well, like, throughout. It's just like a kind of like a cliffhanger of trying to explain where the comics last left off. I thought it was really well done. The story was interesting and very engaging, so at 4 out of 5, I recommend. And then the last thing I read in February was Niobe. So this comic had so much potential. This is like a 3.5 or 3. If I'm being honest, it's closer to a 3. This is based off of African culture, I believe. There's a really cool magic system, but it's kind of not explained well, but I think it's because this story, I'm reading it not in like the order it's supposed to be read. I don't think, but I think I am. I checked online, and this is the first full volume with all the stories, but it's a little bit confusing to understand the world. I'm thinking there might have been a previous story with a different character, like the father, but basically this is a girl, and she's half human, half elf, and her dad is chasing her, trying to kill her, I think. But the illustration style was pretty cool. I loved it. But the plot... Okay, and then what I guess I'm trying to say is that the plot for this story, beyond not knowing what happened in the previous volume, I feel like the story was not super well crafted, in the sense that the conflict, I think there's a little bit of a love triangle, and then she falls in love with this other person, or not person, because they're all kind of like demon-ish and stuff. It just happened really fast, and I get that it's a comic book, but I feel like it was unbelievable. The romance just kind of happens. Like, you turn a page and you're like, oh, okay, they like each other now. Oh, okay. I have to check out the other previous volume. I have to do a little bit more research. Oh my god. 50 million years later, and I finished my freaking wrap-up. So I read 17 books during this month. I don't know the total page count, and I don't know if I want to do the page count. If I do it, here, I'll edit it in. These are the total amount of pages that I read. Yeah. So in the month of February, I read 3 manga, 3 comic books, 3 plays, so consistent, isn't that creepy? 7 physical books, and then 1 audiobook. So yeah, that's my February wrap up. Hopefully you didn't die of boredom, and I really hope that you enter the giveaway, please. I want these comics to have a good home, so enter, do it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.